Hey everyone, this is the Rewriter writing in. For today's video, I'll be reviewing the new movie Snake Eyes. As with my other reviews, this will be full spoiler, and I'll discuss what I liked, what I didn't like, and we'll end the review with a final score of done right or rewrite. The original two G.I. Joe movies were some of my favorite action movies growing up, with Snake Eyes being my favorite character in them by a long shot. He wasted no time with talking, and instead was a ninja of action. Plus, his suits were always really cool, though I preferred the suit from the first one. So, will this new Snake Eyes be able to compare with the previous Snake Eyes? And will this movie be able to stand with the other G.I. Joe movies? With this intro out of the way, let's dive into the review of Snake Eyes G.I. Joe Origins. Of course, let's start with the positives. One of the things that I appreciated with this movie is that it has an actual plot with a clear and cohesive series of events that allows the audience to understand what the premise of the movie was.
What a twist!
Most of the movies that I've seen this year at the theaters have been a complete wash, with all of the focus being on the action and the explosions instead of a plot that makes any sense. These movies for me are so boring because I have nothing to get attached to, as there's no story behind the characters or events on screen. However, with this movie, there is a clear plot of revenge, betrayal, and hope, with plenty of action to keep it engaging. Now, this doesn't mean that I completely loved the story, as there are things I didn't like, but we'll cover this later. Another thing that I really enjoyed with this plot is the fact that Snake Eyes himself is an unreliable character, as many parts of this movie show that he's using both sides of this conflict between Cobra and the Arashikage to get what he wants. He has no allegiance to any side except his own, and I appreciate this angle that they took with the character. Someone doesn't spend 20 years of their life looking for their father's killer and just join up with a ninja clan and swear full allegiance to them. This person would be more selfish than wanting to save the world. He honestly could care less about that. All he wants is revenge. I enjoy this as it makes him a likable character because he's determined but also untrustworthy, with obvious character flaws. A character is so much more interesting when they have obvious flaws that they have to work through and overcome, instead of a goody two-shoes character that is perfect and always does the right thing. The character that I really enjoy in this movie is Tommy Arashikage, or later referred to as Storm Shadow. He is a complex character that has interesting goals and ideas about the world and the Arashikage's place in it. His story is that he is the last of the Arashikage bloodline and is next in line to assume command of the clan. In preparation of taking over the clan, Tommy feels that it's necessary to adapt to new circumstances, allowing an outsider such as Snake Eyes to join the clan once he passes the trials. During his years growing up in the clan, his cousin Kenta and him were among the two people who were next in line to become the leader of the clan, and Kenta used deception to try and kill Tommy so that he could single-handedly rule the Arashikage. When his treachery is discovered, he is banished from the clan. Tommy now works to ensure the clan's safety while also moving it towards the modern day. I love his story and feel that this movie could have easily been a Storm Shadow origin, and it would have been awesome. My next positive is that I enjoyed the chemistry between Snake Eyes and Tommy. I liked how they grew to trust each other and how through battle they started to become brothers. I enjoyed how they both had their own conflicts and main antagonists, as it gave this story more layers than if every character was battling the same main villain. Snake Eyes wanted revenge against his father's killer, and Tommy defends his clan from Kenta. I think the actors in both of these roles did a good job at portraying these characters in a believable way. I really enjoy how betrayed Tommy feels when Snake Eyes steals the Jewel of the Sun, a powerful artifact that the Arashikage clan are sworn to protect, and brings it to Kenta and Cobra. This betrayal felt hard-hitting as Tommy trusted Snake with his life, and he was indebted to him for saving him back in LA after the Yakuza tried to have him killed. Snake used Tommy and his friendship to destroy the clan, again showing the selfishness and obvious character flaw in Snake. Character flaws are a great way to shape the world around a character, as their actions will determine who trusts in them and who is their enemy. This strained relationship played into Tommy's eventual turn to villainy, and I like most of the way that they set this up, though not completely. But again, we'll get to this later. I enjoy when the villain, or future villain in this case, is tied with the protagonist, as when these two characters fight, there is emotion and true tension behind it. Next, I really enjoy the costume design in this movie. I love the outfit that Snake wears for most of this movie, even though it's not his official outfit. This look was so cool as it still looked like a ninja, but had a believable modern day element to it that looked awesome as he was sneaking through the Arashikage compound, trying to steal the jewel. I even felt that the regular outfit for the other ninjas looked pretty awesome as well. In addition, his official outfit looked incredible. It looked like a good mix between the first and second G.I. Joe movie looks, and I think it came out really well. Plus the helmet design and how the lens or eye shield, whatever you want to call them, mechanically came down. That was really cool to see. Storm also had a great design for his outfit. I love the contrast between Storm's clean white armor and Snake's jet black armor. Fights between these two in later movies are going to look awesome, especially since both of them have pretty cool fighting styles. Scarlet and Baroness also had good costume designs, making them look like they were just ripped out of the toy box in a sense. All the characters who had costumes were designed well and didn't feel cheesy or cheaply made. So let's now discuss some of the negatives that I have with this film. The first thing that I felt could have been done much better is the fight scenes. When you have ninjas battling each other, these duels should showcase incredible bouts of sword fighting and hand-to-hand combat skill. I was expecting the action to look like a typical martial arts film, with stylish moves and techniques that only masters of martial arts can pull off. However, in this movie, there are no fights like that, and instead every fight is between one of the good guys and like 40 other henchmen. The camera work in these fight scenes isn't very good, as I couldn't really see much of the action happening as these fights were so fast and not well choreographed. These fights didn't display awesome skill of martial arts, and just divulged into a bunch of thugs swinging their swords like untrained learners. As we were waiting for the movie, we saw a trailer for Shang-Chi and the 10 Rings, and the action in this looked awesome, with all of my points about fighting being recognized and displayed. But then when we got to this movie, all of the fights looked sloppily put together, and nobody displayed true skill in combat. In a movie about ninjas, it's incredibly disappointing when the fight scenes aren't very good. So the next point I have is a smaller one, but I still wanted to include it. I really disliked the 3 snake monsters in the third trial of this movie. I was really enjoying the angle that this movie was taking, a bit more serious and grounded than other G.I. Joe stories might be. But then when these things showed up, it totally broke the immersion for me. Now, I haven't read any G.I. Joe comics or watched the old cartoons, so I'm not sure if these snake monsters are a part of Snake Eyes' story, but in this instance, I really didn't like them. I don't hate that they wanted to go for a bit more supernatural elements than other stories, but they could have handled it better. For me, if they wanted to include these things in it, they should have worshipped them or taken counsel from them. This way, when Snake Eyes faces his final challenge, he's basically brought before the gods of the tribe, and they decide if he's worthy to join the Arashikage. This would have made more sense to me, because they would have felt established already, and this third trial wouldn't have felt like an acid trip. The next facet of this film that I didn't enjoy was the way that they included the G.I. Joes. Now, hold on, before you grab your pitchforks and tell me how stupid I am for putting the G.I. Joes in the negative category in a G.I. Joe origin story, let me explain myself. The inclusion of the Joes themselves is not the problem. It's how they are shoehorned into the story with not much explanation, backstory, or involvement in the movie as a whole. Literally, in the movie itself, the only backstory we're given about them is that they're the good guys. The inclusion of Scarlet felt kind of forced, and honestly felt like they just added her to bring in a strong female presence instead of a necessary character that adds to the plot. She really doesn't do much in this story except for spouting out exposition about Cobra and then revealing that Snake's father was a Joe. If they wanted to include her in the movie, they should have had her character be more prevalent all throughout, almost like she's tied to Snake in a way that the audience doesn't understand yet until the whole aspect of the Joes is revealed to Snake. Additionally, I feel as though the name drop of G.I. Joe and the organization as a whole shouldn't have been in the movie until the end. I would have rather followed Snake's revenge tale about finding his father's killer and having it be revealed that the man who killed his father belongs to a syndicate called Cobra. Scarlet could be tracking him down as well, and her and Snake could cross paths multiple times, but it's not revealed that she's a Joe until they confront the villain in the end. Setting up the reveal of the Joes at the end of the movie through the conduit of Scarlet would have been a lot more interesting. I also feel that it was a bit of a missed opportunity to not show how the Arashikage and the Joes became allied. I think this movie could have also been an origin for this aspect of the overall narrative. For the most part, I like the story of this movie, but like the last half hour or so is where I take most of my issues with it. Once Snake brings the jewel to Kenta, he is told his father's killer is in this shop waiting for him. Once he walks in, he sees his father's killer tied to a chair. Snake begins to interrogate him, and it's revealed that this man used to work for Cobra until they double-crossed him for whatever reason. This is already something I don't like. Why did they double-cross him? Did he betray them, or were they just done with him? This is never explained, and it kinda cheapens Snake's long journey to finally get to this point. Also, his father's killer is not even given a name, which also cheapens the experience because it would have been way more interesting if he was revealed to be Destro or Zartan, one of the more notable villains. Also, because Cobra are the bad guys, this should have been a trap to lure Snake in and finish the job that Destro or Zartan was assigned all those years ago. The fact that the evil Cobra would just hand over one of their agents willy-nilly like that makes no sense. And then after this reveal, he decides to let the criminal who killed his father go. Why? This makes no sense. Even though he just came to the realization that he gave the jewel to the organization that his father's killer worked for and now wants to stop them and rectify his mistake, why wouldn't he have just killed this guy? He still killed his father, that hasn't changed. The fact that he works for Cobra shouldn't have been any excuse to let this guy live, and makes this whole scenario really cheesy and anticlimactic. So after this, Tommy and Akiko, one of the advisors of the clan, race off to take Snake Eyes down and bring back the jewel to the clan. This is a great setup for the climax of the movie, where all the emotion and tension would come from. Did they do this in a satisfying manner?
No.
The reason this part fell really flat for me was because after this brutal betrayal that Snake did to Tommy, once Tommy confronts him, they fight for like 30 seconds, and then Snake tells Tommy that he wants to help get the jewel back. Tommy then angrily agrees, and they act like this whole incident never happened. Also, Akiko was wary of Snake the whole movie, constantly following him around as he's an outsider. But then when he does something that she suspected him to do, she immediately forgives him and wants to help him get the jewel back. This whole betrayal really loses steam and emotion when all the characters simply forgive Snake and go back on their merry way. Now once they get back to the clan with the help of Scarlet, who again doesn't do much, Tommy, Snake, and Akiko fight back and defeat Kenta and Baroness, who temporarily joins the good guys when she's only slightly betrayed by Kenta. This also felt kinda weak, but I'm not going to go in depth with this as it's pretty inconsequential since it only happens at the very end of the movie. Now here's where a big issue of mine takes place. In the heat of the battle, Tommy briefly uses the jewel to try and kill Kenta, who does manage to escape before the snake monsters eventually kill him. After the fight, the leader of the clan, Tommy's grandmother, banishes Tommy from the clan because he used the jewel, as the clan's code is that they protect the jewel only, not use it. It's so clear that they were trying to force Tommy into his Storm Shadow role, but they did it so poorly, and at the very end of the movie. Tommy spends the whole movie being a good guy and doing what he felt was best for the clan, and yet he's tossed out like day-old chowder because of some BS rule that they made. If Tommy was trying to kill his grandmother with the jewel, or harness the jewel's power to control the world, then yes, banish him from the clan. But to banish him over something so small like this is beyond dumb to me. And the stupidest part is that after Snake did the worst thing possible by stealing the prized jewel and giving it to Cobra, he's still a member of the clan. This whole setup and ending was so terrible, and it kinda derails the rest of the movie for me, knowing that this is how they were going to end it. Now, as far as the reveal of Snake's father being a Joe, I like this idea, but felt that it should have been told to us by Zartan or Destro when Snake is interrogating him. This would eventually out Scarlet as a Joe, and here's where Snake would finally start to put the pieces of the puzzle together, and realize that he just made a huge mistake giving Cobra the jewel. This would have been more impactful to me as Scarlet's role, who has been tailing Snake for the entirety of this movie, in my version that is, would have felt like an answer to the mystery of the whole movie. Why was his father targeted by Cobra? Also, while Kenta is a good side villain for the side story of the movie, that being Tommy's story, the killer of Snake's father should have been the main villain, as this is the thrust of the whole movie. Now, another major nitpick of this film that I have is the fact that they never show Snake taking his vow of silence. By the end of the film, Snake puts on the iconic suit, yet he's still not the character as he still talks, even with the suit on. What was the point of this origin story if you weren't going to explain a key aspect of Snake Eyes' character? Why did they feel the need to just gut this aspect of him? The answer to this question was a big selling point for me going into the film, as I wanted to see what kind of tragedy would lead to Snake taking this legendary vow. Unsurprisingly, I was extremely disappointed by this omission and felt cheated out of the character's true origin. Finally, the last nitpick that I have is with Tommy turning to Cobra at the end credits. Now obviously Storm Shadow is a member of Cobra, so I'm not saying that I dislike this fact. What I'm saying is that there was no build up to this in the entire film, as Tommy hated Cobra because they were the enemies of the Arashikage, and Kenta belonged to them. And yet, even though he spent the whole movie hating them, in the end, he's like, sure, I'll throw down with you guys. Turning a once good character into an evil one is a great way for the audience to feel sympathy towards the villain, but not when it's done like this, with no build up and an unsatisfying turn to villainy. What they should have done is compared and contrasted the values of the Arashikage and Cobra. You could have Tommy understanding and going so far as to believe in some of the philosophies of Cobra. This is because the Arashikage are rigid and old-fashioned, and Tommy understands that in order to hold power in the modern age, you have to be a bit more aggressive with your tactics, like those used by Cobra. This clash of ideologies would have been a great divider between Tommy and his grandmother, and in the end, because the Arashikage failed to listen to him and adapt, as well as Snake's betrayal to him, he leaves, charting his own path. This way, this turn from Tommy would have been well established and believable. In all, this story is one that I can still enjoy, though not as much as I would have liked to. There are many elements of this story and characters that are cool, but there are also so many things that they could have tweaked to this story to make it more fulfilling and climactic. The fights needed to be choreographed and shot much better, and the supernatural elements that were in the story felt out of place to me. The G.I. Joe aspect of the movie felt very forced into the narrative, and not naturally like it should have been, with Scarlet feeling like a very unimportant part of the film. The villains were okay, but I prefer the villains from Rise of Cobra because Cobra Commander and Baroness were tightly linked to Duke, and it gave them depth that the villains in this film don't have. So, my final verdict for Snake Eyes' G.I. Joe Origins is rewrite. And that's my review. What did you all think of it? Have you seen Snake Eyes? If so, did you like it or not? If you haven't seen it, are you still going to? Let me know all of this in the comments below. And stay tuned on the channel for the rewritten story of Snake Eyes. If you enjoyed the video, leave a like. If you enjoy this kind of content and want to see more, then subscribe to the channel. Also, if you enjoy gaming streams and want to hang out and chat with me, then come over to my second channel where I stream multiple times throughout the week, playing all kinds of games. The link to my other channel is in the description below. Thanks for watching everyone, and this is the Rewriter, writing out.